Hello, welcome to Monday Musings with Amanda. Before I get started talking about the importance of connection, what I've learned after kind of feeling like I've been in a cave for the last year, I did pull a card, the Crazy Sexy Love Notes from the universe. And the card I pulled was Make Waves. I don't know why I show this. I think it's probably backwards, but I love the artwork. So it says, it's your turn to make a splash and rock a few creaky boats. Don't be afraid to get wet. You may fail, you may look foolish, or you may make people think in a new way. Every great trailblazer and change maker made waves. You are no different. And if you really think about it, isn't that the case? You have to make waves. You have to, get into that uncomfortable space to really make a positive, impactful difference. So, would love to know, where do you need to make some waves in your life to make that change? So I want to talk about, kind of what I've learned about connection. And it was something that I was thinking about this weekend, actually. Paul and I are about 2-3 weeks out from being fully vaccinated. And, we're feeling that kind of comfort in starting to get back out into the world a little bit and do some of the things that we, used to do with more comfort. We chose, whether you think it was forced or we made the choice, to really isolate ourselves to our house and, over the last year plus. And it caused a lot of reflection time for me. And, before the pandemic, I called myself a social introvert. And I don't know if that's really a term or not, or if I've made it up or what, but, I always had a hard time determining, well, am I an introvert? Am I an extrovert? And I think really when it comes down to it, I do recharge with alone time, and I love a lot of social interaction. And where I was before the pandemic, I was working on building my business, and so I was constantly going to networking events and, seeing friends, and, it was just all about connection all the time. And when the pandemic hit, I was forced to come home. Now, I was still connecting with people on Zoom, over social media, and I was starting to feel like, wow, that's enough for me. I'm really liking this quiet office I sit in, time with my boys and husband. The summer hit pretty close after, so we spent a lot of time out in the pool as a family. And I think what really happened was I really needed the rest and the break from the crazed connection making I was in, but I was starting to feel like I would be just fine if we never went back out into the world. Like, I got this. I'm catching up with people on Facebook. I've got my Zoom meetings and different things like that. And I remember, I don't know, a few weeks ago, maybe it was longer, but Paul and I were walking our dogs down the street, and one of my boys' best friend's mom was driving down the street, and she was in her car, but she kind of stopped in the middle of the road and said hi, and my excitement was just like, hi! And we proceeded to talk for about 10-15 minutes. Paul even stuck around, which he never would have before, but I think he enjoyed seeing somebody, face to face. And it reminded me that maybe connection is a little bit more important to me than I thought it was. And then we had our boys' birthday parties, a couple birthday parties out at the park a few weeks ago, and being able to see, our friends, their friends' parents come and have those conversations. Connection, and we know, right? We know that connection and relationships are just foundational to being human beings. We are not made to operate alone and in isolation. We need relationships and connection to have, full, healthy lives. And how do we do that in this increasingly, busier world and more social media and going through this pandemic? And I'm so grateful that, we are getting to this point of being able to start to do some of the things that we used to do. And I'm coming out with this newfound appreciation, respect, and desire for balance. So it's not about the number of connections that we have, it's about the quality of connections. So I want to make sure that, the connections that I make with other people are meaningful and they really fuel me and fill my cup, right? And I also need to make sure I am intentional with my time and I have that balance to make sure I'm having that alone time to refill, recharge, because I did find a lot of value in that I didn't have before. That was a huge gift that I found through this pandemic was, more of this time and space just, I say that myself and then I laugh. I'm like, at a time when, Paul's been working from home for over a year and the boys are always here. So I really haven't had any alone time. And isn't that fascinating? I went from a world before where I did have a lot of like physical alone time, but I didn't give myself the time and space, to this experience of really never being alone in the house ever, but finding that and carving out those experiences where I can have that quiet time and time to reflect. Just realized that. That's why this is Monday Musings, isn't it? So yeah, it's I'm excited. I've always known that connection is important to me, and it's important to everybody. And moving forward, I'm going to be much more intentional, make sure I have the balance, and really focus on the quality of the connections that I make and feed in my life. So I would love to know, how has this pandemic affected your connections? And what did you learn? What did you miss? Are you coming out of this with new insight, new appreciation, anything like that? Let's have a conversation. Thanks for joining me for Monday Musings with Amanda.